Pride, tradition, excellence. We, the people. We, the Washington Tattoo.
Greetings, I'm Mark Riley, and welcome to the Washington Tattoo Podcast, where the world's musical traditions come to life. The Washington Tattoo is an international music and arts festival coming to the Washington, D.C. metro area. Our podcast explores the lives and stories of world-renowned musicians, dancers, producers, choreographers, artists, educators, arts advocates, and those who serve our cultural communities at large. For more information and donations, find us at www.thewashingtontattoo.com. Now please enjoy this episode of the Washington Tattoo Podcast, sharing the power of the arts, one story at a time. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 5 of the Washington Tattoo Podcast. Today, we have none other than Murray Gusseck, co-founder of Tapspace Publishing. Now, Murray honestly has been a huge influence on my life with his arranging, his performing, how he's led, how he's taught, what he's done for the percussion community as a whole. And honestly, he's such a genuine, humble, authentic human being. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. So, folks, without any further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Murray Gusseck.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. How's it going? This is Mark Riley here, and I have an incredible human being, Murray Gusseck, on the other line. Murray has been a huge inspiration for me throughout my career, musically, professionally, and just as a human being. And so from my point of view to you, thank you very much, Murray, for taking the time to speak with us this afternoon. And looking to digging into some of your story and how you became who you are today.
Okay, well, I hope to be at least entertaining.
Excellent. Kind of where I'd like to really start was, all of us, I know for me, I can go back to that point when I was an early musician and was taking lessons, was starting to get into drumming and really started to look into getting better at my craft, which I never thought actually would be my craft, but there was kind of like that light bulb moment where somebody inspired me to kind of take it up the next level. Do you have someone in mind from your childhood or your early days?
Yeah, quite a few. But if I am to be perfectly honest, I have to say that my first percussion hero was Neil Peart. I was a child of the
Good
80s.
Good one.
It was around 81 when the album Subdivisions came out, and I wasn't into drumming or really playing instruments with any kind of passion back then. I had studied some piano and was a long ways from starting to play the drums, but I took to that band, and I was just, I remember being very fascinated by his choices, and just, like a dog who hears a weird sound, I would just cock my head and be like, why is he doing that? Why are these drum parts sound so weird? And they intrigued me enough to keep listening. And as I got a little older and started to, just get a little bit more broadened in terms of what I was listening to, I kept coming back to them. And I ate, drank, and slept Rush for probably 10 years.
Wow.
And, I would just add, since, he's passed away recently, he's just such a great connection point for a lot of people, especially I think in my generation, because we grew up with him a lot. And, my story about him is what in the articles that came out after his passing, a lot of people were saying the same thing. So I know I'm not alone here, but through listening to him and really hearing what could be done on the drums for somebody who is, just starting to be into drums, it paved the way for me to then be open to hearing guys like, Dave Weckl, Steve Gadd, and Peter Erskine was a big one of mine. And I owe a lot of that exposure to those greats, to just being exposed to Neil Peart as a young kid. So I just got to give him some posthumous props for that, because he's definitely a hero in more ways than one. But yeah, like a lot of people, I I was 18. I was 16 when Chicoree's electric band came on the scene, and Weckl and that whole thing. And it was just like, what is that? And then I saw that guy. I saw him for the first time. I think I had moved up to Santa Clara to march in the Vanguard, and I had moved up there in '88. And I think it was around '89 or '90 when I saw Weckl for the first time at Yoshi's in Oakland play with the acoustic band, the little trio with Chick and John Patucci. And I was sitting about 6 feet. I got there early enough, sat about 6 feet away from Weckl, and it never. I mean, I'm sure it's just like when you sit that close to somebody who you've been listening to and admiring for so long, and you just see them do their thing. I mean, it was life-changing. I mean, I'd never experienced anything like that in my life.
Right.
Get my face peeled back like that. I have to throw in also some teachers. My very first drum instructor in high school was a man named Greg Van Winkle, who was also from Vanguard tradition. He had marched in '81 and '82. In fact, he was the first grounded timpanist in the activity. I think I'm right about that. He was in 1981, the pit was still marching around. Well, they didn't call him the pit, obviously, but the mallet players were still marching around, but they had grounded the timpanist up front with 4 drums. And that was my high school instructor. And he really was kind of the main guy that got me into drumming and drumline and drum set playing. He introduced me to Steve Gadd. And was really responsible for my getting up to Santa Clara in '88, where I met some other really great inspirations of mine, which would be Ralph Hardiman, Glenn Crosby, Scott Johnson later. So yeah, I had some really good teachers.
That's incredible. I mean, that's one of the things I think about too. It's like, those are folks I also know that are just such good people that, you get the technical side of being able to be a great player underneath their tutelage, but you're learning kind of about life really under their wing as well, because they've got so much experience. Yeah.
I mean, my mom basically raised me. So, I mean, even though my dad was on the scene, but he wasn't, I wasn't living with him. So I didn't have, that male role model until I joined the drumline. And Greg, who was my first drum instructor, kind of became that for me and was just great at it. He was just the kind of guy that you want to kind of, help mature a really dorky, young, pimple-faced kid who was just a big nerd and, just wanted to play everything that he could. And this is maybe tangential, but when we were coming up, I went to Redlands High School. Redlands, California is in Southern California. It's if you start in LA and you head east on the 10, like you're going out into the desert, Redlands is kind of the last place with some green and some trees before you get out into the desert. But it's a small, sleepy little community full of a lot of doctors and lawyers, not much of a music scene. But it had this really good marching band, and it had some folks from the Vanguard who kind of were, involved in teaching the marching band and writing for it and stuff. And Greg was one of these guys. And at that time, this is well before Winter Drumline and, the kinds of marching programs and techniques that are being taught today. So it's pretty basic. I mean, we thought double stroke rolls were hot. Threes were something I'd heard of, like 3-stroke rolls were something I'd heard of, but never actually seen anybody do. It was like this whisper on the wind. So me and my buddies, when we were really young, like, 14, 15, we started out in the bass line, and I wanted to play tenors, and a couple of my really close bestie high school friends that were in the drum line wanted to play snare. And we worked every day, just on, for 5 minutes at a really slow tempo, and then, speed up the tempo by like 5 beats a minute and do it again. And basically I credit, I had a good firm foundation by the time I left high school, and I credit that to Greg, and I credit that also to the fact that we weren't excuse me, we weren't as distracted with like just this crazy smorgasbord of, hybrid rudiments and really fancy techniques and tricks and things like that. We just didn't know any better. We didn't have access to that stuff. There wasn't YouTube back then. And we weren't even really watching much in terms of like VHS videos of drum corps. So, just not knowing any better and just working the basics was a gift.
Yeah, right.
Now seeing in hindsight, where it was just like, that was exactly the thing I needed to be doing at that age, was just working and learn how to play strong double stroke roll. Cause it's like so much comes from that.
Well, I mean, that's the fundamentals that come in, right? And it's always like those fundamentals never leave. And once you've spent, I think there's that idea of the 10,000 hour rule of finding your mastery at that one thing. And I mean, for every drummer, they always discuss, the bread and butter of a drummer is the double stroke roll. Like, what's the quality of the double stroke roll, and how does that quality kind of branch into the other stuff you play? And I always had, my teacher would always say, it's always about the quality of what you're playing and never the quantity of what you're playing. And, going back to those fundamentals, I mean, I do it every day when I can practice. It's just start those fundamentals and then kind of dive in.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Me too. Yeah. I was just going to ask you something. Speaking of 10,000 hours, do you know if you've hit that?
You
play like it. If I had to guess, I'd say you have, but I'm just curious whether you think you have.
It's funny. I mean, Jeff Queen and I talked about this about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I think we hit 10,000 hours plus. I think we're working on our 20,000 hours, but I'm not totally sure.
Wow.
But yeah,
I'm not sure either. I actually have no idea. I like to think that I have, but sometimes I don't feel like it.
No, I hear you. So I was going to pivot to something here too. I mean, so you've done a ton of teaching, you've done a ton of playing, publishing, all of that kind of stuff. From a musical standpoint, like you talked about being and seeing Dave Weckl that first time, and that difference between listening to somebody on a recording for so many times and then you see them live. Did that start to translate into like what you felt you wanted your teaching to be, or your playing experiences when you were playing? Did you feel like you had maybe like a top musical moment for you as a player?
Yeah, actually, I have a couple moments that resonate when I was pretty young. One of them, which I'm sure a lot of listeners would relate to, having gone through the same thing, was hearing Steely Dan's Asia for the first time, with Steve Gadd's famous, one take drum solo with the stick click, and the coolest drum solo in the world. I remember hearing that on the radio, and I was into drums at the time, but I wasn't necessarily into Steely Dan. I didn't know much about who they were or anything, but I remember hearing that on the radio and hearing that drum solo, and very clearly in my head, I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life in some way, shape, or form. The next very clear moment for me was in 1987. I had been in a high school drum line for a while, and thought I knew a thing or two about a thing or two to a degree. But then I went and saw an early June show, I think, of Santa Clara. And that was the year they had 6 tenors and 8 snares. Was that right? I should know that. Russian Christmas music, pictures at an exhibition, all those good Vanguard favorites. And I saw their victory concert after the Riverside show, and they had won the show. They did that victory concert, and I was right on the track. And I had just never heard anything like that, or just felt anything like that from a group of performers with that much intensity. And Ralph Hardiman's music, which I was just a huge fan of, and that changed my life in 5 minutes. I had no intentions of drum corps. I was into drumline, and I think my teacher was suggesting that maybe I check it out, and I had some friends who were maybe doing a tryout for a corps who were a little older than me, but I had no intentions of getting into that. I didn't know too much about it, but I saw that, and in 5 minutes, I just remember thinking, I will do that. Yeah. I don't care what I have to do, but I will march that corps as soon as possible. And, that turned out for me to be 1988. But that was kind of a fluke because I wasn't graduating until 88. So I was going to go up and try out in 89. But a buddy of mine from the high school had made it in 88's line. He was a year older from me. And there was an injury in their quad line. So my buddy recommended me to try out in case they needed a filler, which they did. So I went up in the Memorial Day camp, tried out, and like Ralph called me up like, a couple weeks later or so, and I just graduated high school. He's like, we need you, come on up. And so I joined in 88 and had to go learn the show in about 3 days. And it was crazy, but it was, that moment of seeing 87, like turned my whole life into a different direction.
I love hearing that, because at that point, that's like that momentum train. You saw it like hit you, it shook you, and you're like, there it is.
Yeah, there was nothing that was going to stop me from doing that core. Like I would have done anything to march that just because it was so powerful. So
yeah,
that was a big one for me.
Well, that's awesome. That actually hops into my next question too. I mean, so there are kids out there, there are adults out there that are all kind of in the same boat, right? We're in the middle of COVID. There's times to do some pivots on some things. There's people that are buying musical instruments to, start at home. If you have, some advice to give to somebody who's like on the cusp, right? And they're trying to figure out if they really want to invest into drumming or music at that point, like what would you say to somebody about like, why you think it's powerful to be a part of the music scene?
Well, that's a tough one. I guess I would say that deep down, I feel like music and just sort of art in general is a human necessity. And I think we're always going to need to make music. And we're going to need people for that. We're going to need people to teach music. We're going to need people to write music, play music, and, maybe get involved in some ways that are not even invented yet in order to progress the art form in a different direction as a result of what we're going through. I mean, it's already really, and I should preface this by saying that, I'm not out in the field teaching at a school. I have not had to weather those challenges of having to go, we're in the middle of a school year, we need to keep students engaged, or, all my friends in the drum corps activity who, have really kind of suffered as a result of this and had to really, Tron cycle over this way to figure out what they're going to do. Right. And so my hat really goes off, and I've seen some really creative solutions, like I just heard from my buddy Colin McNutt today, who's talking about one of his projects, which I'm not sure I'm supposed to disclose yet, so I won't say what it is, but it's a really creative, cool thing, and some of those cats that are out there putting together videos with groups of people where they're all kind of layering on, and there's apps that are coming out that it's sort of helping people do this at a low cost. And it's been really inspiring to see, kind of our species just figuring out how to adapt to this new thing. But I mean, as far as like speaking to somebody who's maybe on the cusp and deciding, well, do I want to get into that, or, do I want to get into something else? I mean, you kind of have to follow your heart. And, for me, I know at a young age that I needed to play. I needed to play music in some way. And I don't even care if that's just on a practice pad, if I was on a desert island and I didn't, it would be crushing if I didn't at least have a pair of sticks and a practice pad. But, I'm sure if I was in that situation, I'd get real good at hand technique, Yeah,
that was me in basic training. In basic training, I remember about week 7, I said, oh, I can't handle this. I took some tent poles and just figured out how to drum in the sand.
Nice. I'd like to hear more about that story sometime. But yeah, I mean, I think music isn't going to go anywhere. We will and have and are adapting to new ways of expressing ourselves and getting our creations out to different people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to, have so much new technology and see that continue to increase in order to do that. But, if you have a passion in music, I say go for it. I say do what you love, and maybe the money won't necessarily follow. Like, nobody can make that promise, but do what you love, and I think contentment will follow. And if you're content, if you're fulfilled in some way, then that's important, and that's really important to me, and I know it's important to a lot of artists and music makers. So,
Now,
yeah,
that's a great response, because I've also listened to some podcasts that talked about like managing energy, and like then if you're managing energy, like what types of energy are there? There's like, I have to super hyper focus on this Excel spreadsheet because I've got to do this, and I got to make sure the detail is all there, which is one type of energy. Then there's like, the emotional energy that you got to put in for your family, which is a different type of energy. And then there's the, like, I've got to just chill out and unplug so I can regain that energy. But I always found that music fulfilled a different type of void. Like I always felt like there was definitely an emotional connection that kind of was an umbrella that, if I'm walking into a big meeting and I need to like get my mind straight, I have a playlist. I put that type of playlist on and get my mind straight. If I'm getting psyched up for something, there is a different type of playlist, like a workout playlist or something like that. And so I found, the technology side of it, I think, is really interesting, because you can bring in Spotify playlists and all that kind of stuff and kind of bridge the gaps with, how music can touch you.
Yeah. And actually that's a good point. And I've been noticing since the pandemic that I have had more thoughtful listening time than I had years prior, I'm somebody who really likes to listen to things over and over again. That's just the way I ingest things. I listen to it over and over and over to hear all the nuances and stuff. But like, since the streaming age, where we're all just, things are just coming at us all the time, and if you don't like something, you click to the next track.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily have to get up and switch the record player, or, take a CD out and put another CD in. It's just like, next song. And so when people would ask me, what are you listening to these days? Like maybe in the last 6 or 7 years, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I listen to a lot of it, whatever it is, but I don't know what it is. Now, I'm actually listening more intently and thoughtfully. And maybe it's just because I have more space. I'm driving around less, so I have more time to just listen to stuff. But that's been really enjoyable. And like you said, it's been kind of a reset.
Awesome. So a couple last questions here too. So like, we all kind of go through hills and valleys in our different seasons of being a player, being a professional, all that kind of stuff. Is there like a go-to, like if you're kind of in a rut or something like that, have you found like a kind of mechanism or something that you typically do to kind of bring your creative juices back?
The only the only mantra I have that's really truly mine, and it's not unique, but it's not something I picked up from anybody else. It's just something I learned to keep telling myself, is just keep playing. Because for me, I have to keep playing. If I don't keep playing in some way, shape, or form, I think I'll just wither away and die. I got to do it. So, I'm really hard on myself a lot of times. I get into ruts, technically or, musically, with certain things from time to time. And sometimes I leave a practice session or a rehearsal or a gig just thinking, God, you suck. Or, those things that we tell ourselves that, that part of us tells ourselves that really bring us down. But I've learned to counter that by just understanding that is just this little voice that doesn't mean anything, and it'll be gone tomorrow, and just keep playing. Like that's what I tell myself.
I love it. It's it's that whole idea that every season, sometimes that you're going up and you're prepping for the up. But it's the same thing. You're either, in the middle of a season going into a new one, or you're coming out of a season, going out of the season or going into a season. And it's just kind of constantly that fluctuation. And sometimes seasons are super easy and sometimes they're not. And sometimes you're feeling like, it's working. All that work and preparation I'm doing is working. And then there are the times where it doesn't.
Yeah.
and you just beat yourself up.
Yeah, and I think that could be, you could substitute playing with, writing or teaching or, whatever you're creating, like that. We're
Right.
hard on ourselves about those things where we're our own worst critics. So, I guess my thing is just to recognize that the part of your personality that beats you down is not really always grounded in reality. In fact, I would even say it's rarely grounded in reality. And
that's a really good point.
It's important to look at things realistically and be honest, but at the same time, you don't need to like add insult to injury, and it's important to treat yourself nicely. And for me, those moments where I hear that voice, I just go, you know what? You just go to bed.
Right, right.
Just keep playing. Tomorrow's a new day. Yeah, tomorrow's a new day. I'll get up and I'll keep at it, because that's, as far as I know, and as far as I've read a lot, the best minds and the best creators in our history, that's one of the things that they continue to do, is they keep showing up.
Right.
Even if you just have to mail it in on a day, just keep showing up, just keep at it, because that's, over time, that's going to pay dividends.
Yeah, I actually heard that today. I was, working with Mike Vicelli at West Virginia University, and he says like 80%. It's just showing up, be there, just take care of it.
I believe that.
Yep. But it's interesting too, because when you're thinking about that talking head that you've got there, that's, that goes for auditions, that goes for, going to a job interview, any of that kind of stuff gets in there. And it's, if you can have that mindset that you can plow through it and you're going to survive it. That's such a resilient way to look at kind of everything in life,
Yeah. And, as each passing year goes on, you're a little older, a little wiser, and that helps you make that choice. If you can just, keep going, just keep at it. There'll come a day where it becomes easier and easier to like recognize, those sort of counterproductive bits of your own personality.
Awesome. Well, you hopped into the next one pretty easily here. So if the current you could tell the 20-year-old version of you something, what would you tell yourself?
So many things. So the things that I highlighted to answer this, and this first one may not be particularly popular, but it was true for me. I wish that I had waited to go to college, because I didn't graduate from college. I went to San Jose State University because it was the closest CSU school to the Vanguard, which was where my passion was when I was of that age. Mm. But I just wasn't mature enough to go to college and be serious about it. I didn't have that figured out. And that was just something specific to me. I don't know how that perspective weighs in against the challenges of today's college students and the job markets. And the kids have to hustle so much today to do so many different things, and they do them well. My perspective just comes from, the drum corps activity and, sort of having a sense of what kids are having to do, how much they have to pay to participate in these activities while going to school. The fact that most drum corps members seem to be college majors or music majors, right. Which was different than when I was in, where it was like, half of the guys in the corps might have been in a gang if they weren't in the drum corps.
Right. Well, that's how I grew up in New York. There were people getting pulled off the street to not be in trouble, and that's just what you did.
Yeah, but the kids today. So, I'm not necessarily suggesting anybody don't go to college. It's just, for me, I know that if I'd have waited and gotten the drum corps out of my system, and then really decided where do I want to go, and who do I want to study, and I think it would have been better for me. And that's not to say to disparage San Jose State. I met a lot of great people there. Some of my favorite teachers were there. Learned a lot. Studied world music, and it's kind of sort of a weird major called improvised music studies, which was sort of like a sort of like a jazz program with an emphasis in world music. So that was important for me. It kind of shaped me and gave me an ear for different music from different parts of the world, which was important for me. But that's one of my big ones. And then the other one, which probably, isn't going to be, I'm not alone in this, is start saving money sooner.
Yeah, right.
Even if it's $10 a paycheck,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's lots of apps that'll help you do this. And it's like, the sooner you start, you're going to be happy you did. So I think those were the two main things that I would have told my 20-year-old self.
Yeah, I love it, because I remember when I got my first real gig out of college, I said, I'm saving up for a 5-octave marimba. That's what I'm doing. And every single time I had like $8,000, $9,000 saved up, something broke. Like something in my car broke, or when I got a house, something in the HVAC went out. So, 18 years later, still don't have a 5-octave marimba. hope I one day.
Right, but your HVAC's working, I'll bet.
HVAC's working, the AC is working. So, priorities, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to finish up. Last question. Is there anything you have personally or professionally coming around the corner that you've been working on that you want to share with us?
Other than the loss of my COVID belly, I'm working on kick drum technique. It's not super exciting, but it's one of my personal goals. I'm also working on, I have a lot of like battery etudes that I've come up with over the years to either solve technical problems or just for the fun of it, or, just for whatever reason. And I was lucky to be able to compose and have a vehicle for those things when I was actually a marching member, because Ralph and company at the Vanguard were generous enough to give me basically a platform to do that with as a marching member, which was just, in hindsight, it was very rare. And I just owe a lot to them. But so a lot of these compositions dating all the way back to when I was in like 1990, I'm working on an anthology of all of those with sort of some updated goodies and bells and whistles and some kind of assistive play along tracks and things like that. So it's a big project, but I'm excited to get it out there and just be kind of like, here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would
Here's
love
everything.
to see that. Yeah, I really look forward to seeing that.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Well, awesome. So Murray, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much for your time. And honestly, it's been inspiring to hear more about you and your story. And we'll give you an update on, when we launch this, and we'll get it out there, and hopefully everyone will really enjoy it.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for everything that you're doing in the community and for the community market. It means a lot. And, I kind of watch from a distance, and it's just really cool to see all the things that you're involved in and all the outreach that you're doing to all these different drumming traditions. And it's really impressive. I'd love to hang out for a little bit longer at some point, rather than 5 minutes in a PASIC booth, and get some lessons and some Basel technique, or, some of the things that you are so good at.
It'd be an honor, my friend. My phone number is always available, and we'll definitely have to link up again, and we'll do some playing.
Cool. That'd be great. I'd like that.
All right, Murray. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Hello again, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Washington Tattoo Podcast. We'd like to take a second to thank a new special supporter of this tattoo podcast project, Tapspace Publishing. They are offering Washington Tattoo Podcast listeners a 10% discount code on their entire purchase. So if you type in the discount code WA-TATTOO in all capitals, you'll receive 10% off your entire purchase until December 31st of 2020. Again, in all capitals, that discount code is WA-TATTOO. And again, thank you so much to Jim Casella and Murray Gusseck for your support of our project. I hope you are enjoying this podcast. Thanks again. Greetings again, everyone. We just wanted to take a second to say thank you to Seif Studios for their creative media. If you want to find out more about Seif Studios, look them up on www.seifstudios.com. We'd also like to say thank you to our educational partner, ProLogix Percussion, American-made drum pads. They're doing a special discount code for our listeners today. So if you go to www.prologixpercussion.com and type in TWT20, you will receive 20% off your entire order. So thank you very much for tuning in today, and please check out our supporters.